Fasten your seatbelt. I am taking you for the ride of your life. I'm going to show you what this car can really do. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Hang on.
Okay.
Here we go.
Hold on to your butts.
Forget him, kid.
To infinity and beyond!
It might be a tumor.
It's not a tumor. Not a tumor at all.
So you can go ahead and ask me what you're going to ask me, and my natural response could be to get offended.
Well, fine, let's talk about it.
Any thoughts of your own on this matter? Or is that your thing? You come into a bar, you read some obscure passage, and then pretend you pawn it off as your own idea just to impress some girls?
Just another American who saw too many movies as a child.
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
All right.
You're listening to the 30-something movie podcast. One movie each week, 30 years in the making. Feel the rhythm, feel the rhyme. Get on up, it's podcast time. Ladies and gentlemen, it's 30-something movie podcast.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Yeah, wow is the right word. That is the right...
When did you think of that, and when did you think of that?
When did I think of that?
Yeah.
Like 2 minutes ago.
Nah, I don't know about 2 minutes ago. I have an email that says likewise different.
I was going to say
did I put that in? Oh, I didn't know. I did put that in the subject line, didn't I?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I didn't even sit down after about a week.
Hi, Mark.
Waiting to use that. You thought that up one day last week, and you said this is going to be really witty and funny. And I just can't wait to say it on the podcast.
I am so honored that you guys think that highly of me, that I think that far ahead about things.
I think he heard it when he was watching the movie. He's watching it. He's like, that's it.
Yeah.
I try
he
not
paused
to
it. He actually, I'm picturing him pausing the movie. His kids yelling at him, why did you just pause it? Takes out a pad of paper and he writes down that gem.
He tries to bid on the kids and they roll their eyes at him and he knows that's when he knows it's good.
Yeah.
Quiet, kids. Daddy's working on something.
Mm-hmm. Workshopping something. Be quiet.
Like that scene in Sneakers when he's moving the Scrabble tiles around trying to figure out the phrase.
There it is.
That's how I did it. I didn't write it down. I just broke out several sets of Scrabble so I'd have enough letters to put it all together. Well, This is the 30-something movie podcast. And so far, some of the voices you've heard may sound familiar. Very
just the voices in your head.
Or could be. If so, please get those checked out. But Jeff, we're happy to have you here.
Hi.
How you doing?
Everyone. I'm good, man. We're rocking and rolling this summer and putting some finishing touches on a couple of trips. So we're got some stuff to look forward to.
Nice. Have you had any Disney trips yet?
For our anniversary, Katie and I are going to go out to California and go to Disneyland. We've never been. Or I've never been. Last time she was there, I think she was 8 or something like that. So we've been to Disney World a good handful of times, but we're going to go out west, out to California and check out some Disneyland.
Nice.
We got some without the kids.
Yeah.
So
oddly enough, as we were trying to come up with ideas because it's our anniversary coming up in a few weeks too. And one of the ideas we had was to go out to California, was to go like San Francisco and then drive down. And one of my thoughts was, could we manage to get in Galaxy's Edge without the kids? We could, and that would be fun. And then there was a whole plan of, and then I could drag my wife around to all the different like movie filming locations I'd like to go see.
This sounds like an awesome trip. I'll go with you if you'd like.
Okay, we can go.
Let's do it.
Send the girls on their trips. You guys go on yours. And you know what? Everyone might be happier when it's all done.
That's fine. I don't even need a carry-on. I just got to bring my Rocketeer helmet for when we go to Griffith Observatory.
See, I was going to bring my James Dean jacket. So either way.
Perfect. I'll take whatever pictures of you want. You can take a picture of me standing up on top of the observatory right before I get arrested. It'll all be good.
I think we have a plan.
I think it's a good plan. I think
happy to be a part of it.
I think at some point, like if we get more and more Patreon people, I think we need to have like 30-something podcast road trips, and we need to go places. We could put on a live show somewhere.
Do like a 30-something meetup?
Yeah. 30 con. We could call it that. It could be a real tiny little convention in like some Holiday Inn somewhere. Somewhere that has breakfast included.
Of course.
Because it's probably
Yes.
going to, it's the con is probably going to be in whatever dining hall they have. And whatever people manage to, like, whatever people we could just pay to be there. Because I'm not sure anybody's coming out just to see us.
All right, what other voices do we have on this pod?
Well, I heard Bo a moment ago.
Yo.
How you doing, Bo?
Well, John,
Good.
glad to hear your trip was a success and you're
It was
back amongst the podcast envelope.
I was excited to go to Denver and excited to go to Mile High Comics, and it took me about 30 years to get there, but I finally got there.
Better late than never.
Mm-hmm. And then Dennis, I think I heard Dennis.
Yeah, man.
There you are.
Oh.
Oh, good. The cultural appropriation has already started.
It's a stereotype that's what they all say, even though they don't say that all the time. All right.
You dead?
They
You dead,
who,
Dennis?
Dennis? They who? Who do you mean by they?
What? Wow. I don't know.
Jamaicans.
At this point, I'm offended.
Jamaicans.
Don't lie.
There's
No,
a
you're
site that has 14 things Jamaicans get stereotyped for. Are they true?
Uh-huh.
I looked that up in preparation for this.
Oh, I'd love to lose listeners. Please read them all.
Without going through each explanation, number one is we all live close to the beach. Number two, we all speak only patois. As I said, I don't know.
Sure.
We can all cook. We are all aggressive. We are aggressive and feisty. Jamaican men are womanizers. We all listen to reggae, dancehall. We are always late. That would be mine. I've heard the phrase island time so many times. I'm on island time.
Yeah.
We all know celebrities, or we know all the celebrities like Bob Marley and Usain Bolt and Shaggy and everybody.
How many time zones away? How many time zones away is island time from Dennis time?
It's right there. We all live in Kingston.
He's just
I'm
prepping for his.
I'm probably about 5 minutes behind island time.
Okay.
Anyway, we
It's
all
little
live in
teeny tiny
Kingston or
time zones.
Montego Bay. We all live in Kingston or Montego Bay, and then we can all swim. And Jamaica is dangerous. And then last two, every Jamaican can dance, and we are all enjoy partying.
Are you reading that while you're driving?
I'm not driving. I'm parked. All Jamaicans are of African descent. Out of many of one people is our motto. After all, Jamaica is a melting pot of ethnicities and cultures that contribute to the overall heritage of our country.
The more
there you go. So yeah, or better yet, yeah, man.
Just can't help yourself, can you?
So Dennis, while we're on this topic, is John Candy the white savior of this movie?
Jesus.
Yeah.
Boy.
Well, good night, everyone.
You could say it might not be. He might have got them in more trouble. I don't know.
Well, that's true.
Good question.
That's true. Well, we can talk about that.
Yeah, because they didn't like him.
Yeah.
They didn't really have so much against the Jamaican guy, bobsledders. They had more issues with getting him back. Remember? So.
All right. Well, we are the 30-something movie podcast. We do spoil as we talk here, so we don't really give much of a spoiler warning. Just be aware. Visit our website, 30podcast.com. You can leave a rating, a voicemail. You could become a co-executive producer of ours via Patreon. So head on over there. It's got a ton of bonus content over there. If you're enjoying this show and you want a little bit more, if you haven't had enough of us already, then you can get more by going over there to Patreon, and there's a bunch of bonus content over there. And it just helps us keep everything running on the show and cover some of the cost of the hosting and the other stuff. So we
if
really
I've had too much, how do I give some back?
If you've had too much.
You said if they haven't had enough of us already.
Ipecac.
Yes.
if they've gotten too much 30-something, can they return anything?
No.
Receipt. You have to have a receipt within 30 days.
Yes, it's a receipt. Actually, it's within 7 days. We're very stringent on that. Yeah. No returns. All sales are final.
No, all right. Well, buyer beware.
Yeah. And then let's see. Yeah, visit our website, 30podcast.com. We have, up to this point, before this one, we have 476 other episodes you could listen to. So yeah, if you haven't had enough of us, you can always go over there and find some more stuff there too, because we talk a lot, or have talked a lot. So if you're going on a trip somewhere, there are hours and hours of mindless talk that we tend to do about movies that you can listen to.
Folks, it's taken us about 40 minutes just to get this one episode started. That's how much
we are fully marinating in this open.
Well, because the problem is I mentioned that we're going to Boston later, and then you guys made the mistake of looking up websites with seafood and other things, and we think we fell into a hole there for a minute.
That's true.
So we turned into a 30-something food podcast before we even started recording. So
speaking of falling into a hole.
Yeah.
Speaking of falling into a hole, don't worry. This is a good segue.
Okay.
Oh, I'm worried.
Katie and I have been doing, or have I mentioned this already? We've been doing a rewatch of West Wing.
No. I do want to do that soon, though.
You know, it's after teaching history for a couple of years, it's interesting going back now and rewatching the show.
Yeah.
But the connection between falling into a hole is that's a moment that comes up in season 2, episode 10, titled Noel, when Chief of Staff Leo McGarry shares a story about a guy who fell into a hole. It's a great moment.
Yeah. I want to go back and rewatch that, and then I also want to go back and rewatch The Newsroom. Because I do enjoy that one.
I propose that we change the name of the podcast to 30-something Tangents.
Well, I mean, why start now? It's kind of what we've always done.
The start of the show is on Island Time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sounds about right.
I like how, like Jeff just said about the 40, you made a comment about the time for the show to get started, and he brings something else up.
You know, it's part of my charm.
It's what we do.
You can't beat them, join them, I guess, huh?
How about it?
All right.
John,
Well, we
John,
have.
Keep us focused, man. Come on.
I'm working on it here. I'm working on it.
I blame it all on John. He's supposed to control the pace of this.
If we haven't learned by now, there's no controlling any of you.
I'm surprised he still lets us all in.
Yeah.
I mean, just think if Pat was here, man, it'd be 10 o'clock already.
We're pretty much done at that point. Pat would have gotten lost in the food discussion too. So.
Yeah, he would have.
Yeah. Well, we got to hop in the DeLorean because this is the first episode of the month for us on our Fun and Games month. We're starting with Cool Runnings, as we've already kind of mentioned. But as we do the first week of every month, we hop in the DeLorean, we head back in time, and we're going back to July of 1993.
When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious...
All right. So
I have to ask, Dennis, are you living in your car now? Like what? Like you're just in your car? Like the last couple of podcasts I've been on, you're always in your car. So I'm
well, at that point I wasn't, but this point you might be accurate in saying that. Yes.
Like I've got a couch here, man.
No, I'm good.
He's always wanted one of those tiny homes, and now he's in the tiniest of homes.
I have a bed in the back of my Highlander, man, so I'm good.
Okay.
All right. Good for you. All right. Anyway. 30 years ago.
I mean, I'm at my mom's a lot now because we're trying to get stuff squared away with her. So I'm at my mom's, and then when I'm not at my mom's, yes, I'm living in the back of the Highlander.
Okay.
Yeah, good for you. Hope that
Dude,
goes
I sleep like a baby back there. It's awesome. It's great.
Crack the windows.
Because my lease ended at the end of the school year. So I decided, since I'm probably going out west, since I'm spending a month over by my mom's, why should I renew a lease now? I could save myself the money it would have cost me, or I would have earned working summer school and staying in an apartment or a place. So, and then it figures it gets me ready for that transition into, the tiny camper thing.
Yeah, good for you.
It'll look like a mansion when I get that dang thing. It'll be like, guess who's moving on up? Look at all this space.
From the back seat to the mini camper. Dennis is upwardly mobile.
That's the name of his book.
Yeah.
The back seat to the mini camper.
Yeah.
I don't know what that book is about. All right. Anyway, what happened 30 years ago?
I'm not reading that book. On July 1st, 93, the Parliament of Canada passes the Nunavut Act, leading to the creation of Nunavut, changing the map of Canada for the first time since the incorporation of Newfoundland in 1949. Techie people will enjoy this one. On July 27th of 93, Windows NT 3.1. The first version of Microsoft's line of Windows NT operating systems is released.
And it all went downhill from there.
Yeah, pretty much. Let's see. I'll pop this one in here because it seemed appropriate. Famous birth in 93, July of 93 was July 24th. Madeline Miller was an American short track speed skater who competed in the 2014 Winter Olympics. We had a couple of deaths in July of 93. July 2nd of 93, Fred Gwynne, American actor best known for his roles in The Munsters and Car 54, Where Are You? And My Cousin Vinny. And then July 23rd of 93, James Jordan, the father of basketball player Michael Jordan, was murdered.
That's right. Yeah.
The top book is still Bridges of Madison County, and I feel like that one goes on for several months in 93. Top movies in July of 93 were The Firm, and I think for the last week of July, Poetic Justice was the top movie. Top songs were That's the Way Love Goes by Janet Jackson, Weak by SWV, and Can't Help Falling in Love by UB40. So that is July of 93. So we're going to jump on into the structure of our show is we give you a little bit of trivia about the movie. We get into our, like, the major moments of the movie. We kind of pin down the plot in 10 or so major events. And then after that, we talk about whether we like the movie or not and get on into our opinions. And then finish everything off with 3 somewhat related questions, question mark. So, Trivia Pursuits is our next section here. The U.S. release date for this one was October 1st, 1993. It is rated PG. Went 1 hour and 38 minutes. Directed by John Turteltaub, who directed National Treasure and The Sorcerer's Apprentice. The writers were Len Seifert, Michael Ritchie, Tommy Swerdlow, Michael Goldberg. They did Downhill Racer, Fletch, Little Giants, and Bushwhacked. Producers were Dawn Steele and Susan B. Landau. They did Flashdance and Mannequin. Composer was Hans Zimmer. Bwah. Bwah. That's my Hans Zimmer sound. The Lion King and Inception.
Oh, don't hurt yourself.
Don't know.
Yeah.
It was, and I might actually, it was a little bit more painful to do the Gollum sound that I was doing before we started. So Hans Zimmer was not so bad. Cinematographer was Fiden Papa Michelle. I don't even know how to say that. It's a lot of P's and a lot of A's, and there's something in there. Did The Pursuit of Happiness and Nebraska. Editor was Bruce Green, did High School Musical and Hocus Pocus. Production company was Walt Disney Pictures, but had a budget of $14 million with a worldwide box office of $154.9 million. Cinema Score gives it an A. Flickmetrics gives it a 65%. Leon played Doris Bannock, was in Above the Rim and Cliffhanger. Dougie Doug was Sanka Coffee. He was in Eight-Legged Freaks and Operation Dumbo Drop. Raul D. Lewis played Junior Bevel. He was in K-Pax and The Touch. Malik Yoba played Yul Brenner. He was in Why Did I Get Married and Copland. John Candy, who died in 94, played Irving Blitzer. He was in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles and Uncle Buck. Raymond J. Barry played Kurt Hemphill. He was in Training Day and Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story. Peter Outerbridge played Joseph Gruel, who was in Lucky Number 11 and Mission to Mars. Paul Kerr played Roger. He was in Brokeback Mountain and Legends of the Fall. Larry Gilman played Larry. That was a bit of a stretch. He was in Alive and Getting Away with Murder. Charles Hyatt died in 2007, played Whitby Bevel Sr. He was in Clara's Heart and The Mighty Quinn. Winston Stona played Coolidge. He was in Instinct and Marked for Death. And Bertina McCauley played Joy Bannock. She was in Clash and The Lunatic. So at the time, supposedly this was the highest grossing live action film released under the Walt Disney Pictures banner when it came out. So.
All right.
Makes sense. I mean, still most of their high grossing stuff was probably the cartoons at that point, animation.
Sure.
I thought this was kind of interesting. Contrary to the story in the movie, the Jamaican team was met with open arms by the international bobsledding teams. In fact, one of the other teams went so far as to lend them a backup sled so that they could qualify. So looks like some of that tension between them and the other teams was manufactured for dramatic effect.
No.
I know.
From
manufactured tension in a movie?
Yeah, right.
From something I read, though, Jamaica was actually disqualified because of a late entry.
Oh, really?
But where is it?
Well, because they were on island time.
They were on island time. That's right. They may have been on Dennis time at that point.
They could have been, yeah. That's why, like, when you go to trivia, you got to tell the Jamaican bobsled team that it starts at 6:45, even though it really starts at 7:30, because then maybe you think that the bobsled team would show up on time.
Here it is. So the IOC received several appeals, including one from the Prince of Monaco, which led to the reversal of the decision of them being disqualified as opposed to the appeal by their coach.
Oh, well, that's cool. Another one I found, in the sport of bobsledding, adding weight to the sled is actually perfectly legal. So that was supposedly that's what got John Candy's character, got their gold medals stripped from them because he added weight to the front of the bobsled. But supposedly, the 2- and 4-man sleds have minimum and maximum weights. So the weight of the sled is calculated as the total weight of the sled and its crew. If the fully loaded sled weighs less than the minimum, it is perfectly legal to add weight to make up the difference. So I guess if there's a maximum weight, then maybe in the story that they came up with that he went over the maximum weight. I don't know, but then I don't know.
John Candy went over the maximum weight.
Well, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that then, like, I don't know bobsledding well enough to know, like, if you add too much weight, does that then slow you down? Or I would think that adding too much would make your maneuverability throw that off too.
I suppose it just depends on where you have the weights stacked up.
Yeah. Well, some of us carry it differently than others, so.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And it's not going to slow you down much at all.
No, I have plenty of other things that slow me down. Denzel Washington turned down the role of Doris, and Eddie Murphy turned down the role of Sanka because they didn't like the pay they were being offered.
Sanka, you dead?
Yeah, man.
I had a student bust that out to me once a couple years back.
Did you really?
Yeah. Or no, he did the bobsled chant, like, before he did a presentation, just to, like, psych himself up.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
And I was just like, I feel like I should just pass you on this assignment. You don't even have to do anything.
I was going to say, give that kid an A.
That was amazing.
That's awesome. Let's see. Oh, so I thought this one was kind of cool. On January 2014, the Jamaican bobsled team qualified for the 2-man bobsled at the 2014 Winter Olympics in Sochi, Russia. They described themselves as Cool Runnings, the second generation. In light of the team's qualification for the 2014 Olympics, one of the original 88 team members and now General Secretary of the Jamaican Bobsleigh Confederation said, "I don't think the support for the team, like we've seen over the last 3 years, would have been sustainable without the ongoing appeal of the movie." So supposedly the team has received funding over the years. They've received funding from several sources, and a lot of it based on the popularity of the Disney movie Cool Runnings. So I thought that was kind of cool too. All right. Well, a quick synopsis for this one in the style of one of the best trailer voiceover artists, Don LaFontaine.
I think you should do this in your best Jamaican accent.
Oh, really?
Or Gollum doing a Jamaican accent.
Yikes. I don't even know I can do that. In a world, precious. No, I don't know.
Sometimes it's not about if you can, it's about if you should.
Right. They thought about whether they should read the copy that way, but they didn't really ask. Yeah. In a world where winter is king, 4 unlikely heroes, Doris, Sanka, Jr., and Yul Brynner, slide from the hills of Jamaica into the fast lane of ice and snow at the Winter Olympics. Can they stand the heat of competition, or will they lose their cool?
You zigging? You zagging? Ooh. Always remember, your bones will not break in a bobsled. No. They shatter. So, who wants in?
We're looking for a sponsor for the first Jamaican bobsled team.
Their dream was to compete in the Olympics. But they chose a sport they knew nothing about.
Great. Very good.
In a climate they had never been.
Cold weather endurance is vital to building a successful sled team.
This is the true story of 4 unlikely athletes
How about I beat your butt right now?
How about I draw a line down the middle of your head so it looks like a butt?
who weren't prepared for what they were about to face.
It's a beautiful afternoon in Calgary, and there is a lot more coming up.
Is this whole thing a big joke? I can't get my helmet on. Oh, thanks, coach.
Why don't you put some training wheels on that sled? Leave the bobsledding to the real man.
You know you're gonna have to do this on your own one day.
You have no business here, Jamaica.
People are always afraid of what's different.
Now! God!
But they found in each other
Do you really expect these Jamaicans to qualify?
the courage to give it their all.
Not only are they gonna qualify, they're gonna turn some heads doing it.
I see pride. I see power.
And they took the whole world along for the ride.
Is to follow your dreams. Follow your dreams.
Walt Disney Pictures presents
I am feeling very Olympic today.
a story for anyone who dares to stand out in a crowd,
I didn't come up here to forget who I am and where I come from.
and everyone with the courage to stand up for their dreams.
How will I know if I'm enough? When you cross that finish line,
Where did these guys come from?
you'll know.
Cool runnings,
So what are we gonna name this sled? Tallulah. Tallulah. That's my mother's name. Tallulah. That's nice. I like it.
All right, major moments for this one. We've got about 10 major moments to kind of help sum up the movie here. This is if you haven't seen the movie before. I mean, if you haven't seen it before, we do always recommend pause this, go watch the movie, and then come back. If you've got Disney Plus, it's on there. But if you have seen the movie and just need a quick little refresher, this should help you out with that. So, major moment number 1, training for the Olympics. So, Derice Bannock is a Jamaican sprinter and a legacy Olympian at that, as his father was in the Olympics years before. He fails to qualify for the 100 meters for the Summer Olympics after Junior Bevel accidentally stumbles and knocks out both him and Yul Brynner, and they are not able to qualify for the Summer Olympics. But then, major moment number 2, he forms a bobsled team to compete in the Winter Olympics in Calgary, recruiting his buddy Sanka Coffey, Junior Bevel, and Yul Brynner. And you know, when they find that there is a former bobsled celebrity, a former Olympian living right there in their town, they successfully persuade the very reluctant and possibly semi-inebriated Irving Blitzer as a disgraced American bobsled champion to coach their team. And I love that one scene where he gets everybody there and they've got the slideshow running and he's explaining how you don't break your bones, you shatter your bones. And they're going through all the different stuff. And you go from a crowded room to the lights come back on and it's only Sanka sitting there. Like everybody else is left. I thought that was kind of a funny moment. Then they have some struggles with the funding piece of this too. When they find out that they're going to need many tens of thousands of dollars to get this going, they realize that they're going to need to raise some money. So we get a little montage of everybody trying to raise money in different ways. And what did they come out with? Didn't they come out with like $11 or something at one point, or did it come out to like $100 and something and that was all they had?
All of their attempts to raise money failed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Sanka got $1 for shutting up.
Yeah.
And I think he raised $1.16. So I don't know where he got the other 16 cents, but the great part about one of their teammates is he's wealthy. So they don't need to worry about money because he sold his sports car. Junior sold his sports car. His dad has made some arrangements for him to go work in, I think it was Miami that he was going to go work. Was it Florida?
Yes.
I think so.
I think it was like at a law firm, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
In Miami.
Yeah, and he doesn't want to, but his father is like, yeah, you've taken this crazy Olympic dream far enough. Like you're a grown up now, you need to do grown up things. So forget that. You're going to go work in Miami at this law firm. And so this is kind of his way. He doesn't tell his father what he's doing, but this is kind of his way of handling it, is that he is going to sell the sports car, use that money to get the team to Calgary. They arrive in Calgary, and they have a few struggles here and there adapting to the cold as they come into. I thought that was a funny scene too, coming into Calgary for the first time. And what was also funny is I feel like one of the first times I would have watched this movie, I would have still been either living in the South or we would have been living in England at the time. And I probably would have also, having been from Texas, would have thought that this was ridiculously cold. But as we were watching this with the family the other day, everybody's comment was, -25, we don't even cancel school for that. Like, oh.
In the snow, uphill both ways.
Oh, how things have changed. I would have thought -25 would kill me if I was watching this as a kid. But yes, so they arrive in Calgary. Major moment number 6, we have a bar fight and a bit of a rebuke by their coach. The team members, except Derice, get into a bar fight with the East Germans, as you do, resulting in a stern reprimand from Derice. And then we find out that they get disqualified because I think a member of the Olympic Committee is Irving's former coach, and he just does not want. He's completely convinced that this team is going to, I guess his reasoning is they're going to embarrass the sport of bobsledding, and so they managed to kind of find a way to get them disqualified. And I did feel like for a moment in a 1993 movie, there was a great line, and I'm trying to remember exactly what it was, but it's something like, "Yeah, I didn't realize that 4 black guys on a bobsled made you guys nervous." I was like, "Ooh, nice one." Nice jab there, John Candy. But they get the team reinstated. He gives an impassioned speech to the committee, and he's able to get the team reinstated. Junior is almost pulled off the team because his father shows up. But
of course.
What's that?
That was one. No, I said, of course. That was one of the more predictable things.
Yeah.
Right. The dad was going to show up and be dad.
Right.
It's Chekhov's dad.
Yes.
Chekhov's unapproving dad.
Yes.
The nuclear vessels are in Alameda.
Yes. And that's where you're going. But yeah, he tries to get him to come home with him, and he's like, nope, I'm going to, kind of based on an earlier conversation that he had with Ewell when he was telling him, hey, look, you got to do what you want to do. Like, you are strong and confident, and look at yourself in the mirror and psych yourself up. And kind of based on that, he's able to then kind of tell his father, nope, not coming with you. I'm sticking here. I'm sticking with my team. I'm representing Jamaica. That's it. A major moment number 9 is after a disastrous first day on the track, the team does manage to kind of change their competition style, and it leads to a significant improvements in their performance, and they're just feeling much more at ease. I think they were trying too hard to be like the Germans and the Swedes and everybody else they were seeing. And like, look, we're Jamaicans. We got to be Jamaicans. We got to be true to ourselves, and so we can't be copying somebody else. That's not going to get us anywhere. And then finally, during the final race, the team crashes. Like, they're doing so well, but the team crashes because their rickety bobsled that they have comes apart. And they do, after crashing, they have kind of the rescue crew coming out to get them, but they are able to get out of the sled, and then they pick it up, and then they end up carrying it across the finish line, earning the applause and admiration despite the fact that they have lost. So. All right. Anything plot-wise that you want to mention before we get on into our deeper thoughts, or do you think we covered most of it?
Yeah, I think I covered it.
That's about it.
Okay. All right. It's time for some deep thoughts.
And now, deep thoughts.
I have an opinion on this matter.
Don't mince words, Bones. What do you really think?
I like it a lot.
Wow. It's very deep. Thank you.
All right, so we'll start off with this one. Did you like this movie, and when was the first time you remember seeing it?
I'll jump in. Yeah, I like this movie. I find it hard to believe people don't like this movie. I think it's, while not overly complex or whatever, it's just done well. It's a nice, simple movie that's enjoyable, inspiring, funny. I think it's just a good little film. And I remember, like, I would say, showed this to our kids, and they were pretty young and they enjoyed it, and you could have older people enjoy it. So I think it's like one of those kind of ones that work work with a variety of ages and people still get something out of it and still like it. So when did I see it? I want to say I did see it at the movie theater. I would have been in my 20s at the time. And I think we probably saw it maybe with either my brothers or some baseball players because I was in college at the time. But I'm pretty darn sure I saw it at the theater. And I've seen it multiple times since.
I don't think I saw it in the theater, but I don't remember the first time I saw it. But I agree with Dennis. It's a really fun movie. You know, you don't have to think about anything. It's highly predictable. It's very formulaic in terms of these types of movies, but it doesn't take away from the enjoyment factor of this movie.
Yeah, I really don't think we would have watched this in the theater. And I feel like it might have even been a few years later before I saw this one. But I know I had seen it once, probably in the mid 90s somewhere, and then hadn't watched it again until just a couple of days ago. But yeah, I'll echo the same thing. It's you know, in the whole series of kind of the Disney sports movies, this is one of the ones that, like, it's not trying to take itself too seriously. It's just a fun movie. It's fun. You know, you can tell the characters are having fun. I hope the actors were having fun making it, and it kind of comes across that they were. And it's just, it's a goofy, quirky little movie, but it's just, yeah, it's inspiring. And even some of the parts that are a little cheesy and predictable are still, you can kind of excuse those because the rest of the movie it's lighthearted. It's fun. It's a bunch of friends just trying to do their best and do something great for their country. And yeah, it's just a great fun movie. It's probably in my top, I'd say in my top 3 of Disney sports movies.
Yeah, the one word that I was trying to think of when I was trying to describe it, because formulaic was one, like you hear that, but that sounds negative. But it's one of the more balanced is the word that I ended up coming up with, was a balanced, for like you said, all these things. It never does one where it becomes too zany and goofy or it becomes too serious. It seems like it had just the right amount of this, the right amount of that, the right amount of everything. And the fact that John Candy, in a rare, and he's really the straight man in us. Overall, he's the straight man, and the 4 guys are the funny guys. And going into it, because that's probably why I saw it at the theater, because we were huge John Candy fans, and basically also like SCTV, and so we were John Candy's. Oh, we'll go see that movie. But he wasn't super goofy or silly. He was the more, if anything, dramatic character out of a lot of it. He had his lines and stuff that were funny here and there, but he was never like goofy guy like he might be in some other movies like Stripes or something like that. He was a believable character, and I just think, like you said, it had the right balance of everything. It has some cheesiness in it, but everything's forgivable because it never dwelled on one of those aspects too much or too far or too long. So it, again, balanced was the word that I kind of kept coming to, was like, it's just a nice balance out of formulaic movies. It's the most balanced, where it doesn't do too much of one thing. And therefore, in the end, it's just rather enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
And just going back to that straight man, I had read somewhere as well that, and I've read it a few different places, but I tried to dig and find what the movies were, what kind of movies. But from what I understood, I know he had the Wagons East, and that's when he died, because Candy died shortly after that, which is just like devastating. I believe he was only 43, and it's like, geez, the body of work he left behind, and what would we have gotten from him, in the years ahead. Somebody had like posed the question, or they said that like supposedly after Wagons East, and I think it was, what was the other one? There was another kind of comedy one that got released, and then he was supposed to have some more serious roles lined up. And I remember thinking back to Only the Lonely, where he was in that one. He kind of died. I think he's in JFK too, but a small part there. But Only the Lonely was the romantic one with Ali Sheedy.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember thinking, like, could he have been like the Robin Williams? Could he have been like the Tom Hanks and made that crossover to like some serious roles that were very, very moving and believable as well? And I think he had that. Like,
I would have loved to have seen that.
Yeah, and that's the sad part.
For sure.
Yeah, that's what's sad about when I think of this movie too, is because it was like the one that was released. He died shortly after the release, I think.
Like, it was for some reason, a title that popped into my mind that I feel like he could have done well with was John Goodman's role in 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Yes, yes.
I think he would have surprised the hell out of everybody with what he would have pulled off with that one.
Yes. And even like Bill Murray had gotten into some serious roles. So, I mean, I think we missed that aspect where we didn't get enough of that serious part of him. And it's a shame to hear that. Like what I said, again, I don't know what the movies were, but it said that they had lined up or he was in negotiations for a series of some pretty more serious roles. So it's there's a bittersweet movie because it's like you see that promise in the movie, you know. So just it's kind of a side note there, but yeah. And I like I said, just a balanced movie overall. He steps back and he lets the four guys be the kind of the screwballs at times, where that's usually his role.
Yeah,
usually
I mean,
he's the guy you're all laughing at, and it works so well.
It tells you how smart he was.
Yeah,
to understand like what his role with this is, and he doesn't have to be the funny guy and to be okay with that. I mean, and everything you hear about John Candy is just how great of a guy he was.
Yeah.
You know, it's such a shame that he died so early.
Yeah.
There were some scenes in the movie, though. There were some scenes, mostly at the bar in the beginning when the two guys went to go find him. There were a couple shots, and I mean this in the most respectful way possible, that John Candy looked very much like our own Bo Warmbold. Or our own Bo Warmbold looked very much like John Candy. And just a couple of shots, I was like, wow, it was eerie how similar the two of you guys looked.
It's funny, it was only a couple shots. It usually takes Bo 4 or 5.
So we got to get Bo to a bar and see if this is true.
Only when they're only when they're prairie fires, John.
Prairie fires.
Only when they're prairie fires.
Woof.
A day that will live in infamy.
Uh-huh.
All right, Bo, you're I think we had gone off on a side thing there.
I am the oddball in the group today. This is the first time I had seen this movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No kidding.
Okay.
I can't really explain why, except to say that it was. I might have just missed it. I don't know. Never saw it. Liked it. It was fun. You know, big John Candy fan, so I don't know how I'd never seen it. Yeah.
What were you saying, Dennis?
I said I think that from John's reaction when you said you're the oddball here, I thought you thought that you was going to say that he didn't like it.
Oh. No, I was just agreeing that he's the
I wasn't
oddball
sure
here.
if that's where they're like, hey, like you guys love this movie. I'm the only oddball today, and I hated this thing. That's where I thought maybe he was going, but then he went with the I only saw it once first time, which is weird because it's actually shown in a lot of schools.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know a lot of kids, not even just Hawthorne kids, but kids from other schools who've said that it's kind of was a movie that a lot of people went to and like teachers went to show at the end of the year or show during Olympics. Like
that makes sense. Yeah,
you would maybe show it during there and just kind of like get them in the spirit of Olympics, even though it's very loosely based on true events. But the fact that it's got that theme and inspiration, and it's something you could show in a classroom without getting in trouble, and it's a safe movie for schools. So a lot of kids remember seeing this during school.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
And I used to go to the library. Like I remember when I tried to get this on DVD at the library to show to my kids when we were going to show it, it was taken out a lot. Like I was like, dang, it's out again. Dang, it's out again. And then I think I even had to put a reserve on it to get it. So it's a popular movie even years later. We're talking 2000 and probably 8 to 12.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I vividly remember even not really having watched it more than once growing up. I vividly remember the trailer for this one. You know, I remember the whole, especially the scene where he's like, I can't put my helmet on, coach. And he like smacks him on the top of the head. And I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that part.
Yeah.
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 Well, I jokingly, because, you know, you go all the way back to our Temple of Doom episode, I jokingly said something about John Candy being the white savior of the movie. I was reading some stuff earlier where there are some people that have kind of leveled that at the movie. It's like, oh yeah, great, another one of these. And I'm like, did you actually watch the movie? Because he didn't do much to help him other than maybe an impassioned speech at the at the Olympic committee. But other than that, I feel like if he wasn't their coach, then they might not have been disqualified in the first place.
Yeah.
Like if they had now granted, he did kind of help and inspire them to go through their training, and he did push them to become the team. But I feel like there were times where he kind of almost hurt them more rather than help them, and it's not like he fronted the money for them to get there. You know, that was one of the players that one of the guys on the team that put the money up. And so I don't know that. I read several different reviews where people tried to push that and say, oh great, another one of these movies. I'm like, well, if you watch the movie, I don't really think it actually works out that way.
No. Yeah, I agree. I never even bring that thought into it when I watch this movie. Never had it. Never.
Yeah.
I guess if you look for anything, you try to find it, but I don't see it.
I don't know if you guys heard one of the other funny stories. I don't remember if it was this team or if it was one of the next Winter Olympic Games where the bobsled team, the Jamaican bobsled team, came and one of their guys on the team got injured, and so they grabbed somebody from another team, or maybe it was the injured guy's brother who was there to watch them compete, and they were like, hey, we need a fourth guy. Come over here. We'll teach you everything we know about bobsledding.
Mm-hmm.
And like they just recruited him, and within 3 days they explained everything, and they trained him on how to run in the bobsled with them, and he joined their team. I was like, that's crazy. Like that could be a movie in and of itself.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite scene? Like this movie is super quotable. There's so many good little one-liners and memorable scenes in this. Do you have a favorite scene in the movie?
I like anything with Sanka. He cracks me up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. The stuff with Yul Brynner and Junior. Like, I still don't like you. Or that's not even the right word, but this doesn't mean I like you.
Don't
I
touch
think
me.
is the line. Yeah, don't touch me. Right. The whole shtick with the two of them, like, is pretty fun.
I'm going to go back to John Candy with confronting his old coach in that kind of scene. And just, I like kind of the drama parts of this too. I mean, everything you're saying about the funny parts, yeah, those are all great. But, you know, I think those other parts give it more heart when you start feeling the drama part of it. So I like the balance of the drama and not just having it be just funny, a series of funny scenes and stuff. But yeah, they all complement each other. But for some reason, I always like that scene. And maybe it's that dramatic part of John Candy that's coming out that I craved more of, like in future movies that we never got. Maybe that, but that sticks out. The speech.
Yeah. I appreciate the fact too that the fact that they didn't win a medal, that this whole thing goes horribly sideways for them, right? And that with that huge crash and that
literally sideways.
Literally sideways, off the rails, literally. But like, again, when we talk about formulaic movies and what you expect to happen, here's a story that, you know, these guys, despite their hard work, despite everything they overcame, they didn't meet their goal. They didn't medal. They didn't win. They didn't place. From that point of view, it was kind of refreshing. Because when you think about a lot of other sports movies that are meant to inspire, you know, Remember the Titans or Rudy, or I don't know, a lot of them, right? Even like Major League, right? You've got this group of this group of athletes that are pushing so hard to overcome the odds, and they do it, and you're like, yeah, that's great, that's awesome. And that's not to downplay it, right? Like the ending of Rudy is one of the best moments in a movie that I really enjoy. I'm not saying that that's bad, but I really appreciate the fact that those that wrote this screenplay focused on this group, that they didn't get their glory that they were after. They got acceptance, which was even better, or should be even better than glory. You know, I think there was a line in there in the movie. I'm trying to remember how it went. John Candy said it. If had something to do about winning a medal. And if you can't be happy with yourself without winning a medal, then you don't deserve to win a medal in the first place, or something like that. I'll see if I can find that quote. But, I think it speaks to the heart of working hard as opposed to the moment of triumph, competitive triumph.
Yeah.
What is that quote? Do you guys know what quote I'm talking about or no?
Vaguely, not well enough to repeat it back to you.
Let's see if I can find it.
Yeah, I do always enjoy some of the sports movies where they don't necessarily win in the end. Like you've struggled and you've proven a point, but you don't necessarily come out victorious in the end of it.
Yeah.
For Dennis's benefit, I was almost going to say in this movie, even when you lose, you win.
There you go.
Wow.
It's like the anti-Alien 3.
Very nihilistic.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway. I will say I like the scene when I thought about the speeches too, even though it kind of makes me think a little bit what you're sort of saying about when they lose. But I mean, is the point of the movie summed up in the speech when he's talking to which character is it? And he's saying about the guy asked him why he cheats, why he cheated.
Yeah.
And he started explaining I won my whole life. Winning became everything. And then he goes, but you had 2 gold medals. And he's like, he said something along the lines, I'm probably gonna misquote it here, not perfectly, but if you're nothing, something about being nothing with the medals, you have to be in other words, if you're not enough with them or without them, then you'll never be enough with them, type of thing.
Yeah.
So in other words,
Yeah,
gold medals didn't that's again that kind of that point of they didn't win, but there's more than that without the stuff as well. The medals don't make you, kind of thing. He was lacking something as a person, and that's why he cheated. But those type of scenes make me think some of that, that angle of it. But
yeah, the quote, that was the quote that I was thinking of too. If you're not enough without one, you'll never be enough with one.
That's it. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
That's a really good quote.
It's a great lesson. When you do show it in schools, it's such a great lesson for you, because telling you so many kids nowadays don't get that. When we're just seeing it in sports, it's ridiculous. PE class or in just any travel clubs and stuff and teams, it's just they don't quite get that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just stumbled across another quote that I really liked when Sanka and Irv are fighting about Sanka being the driver. And it ends with Irv saying, now dig where I'm coming from. I'm coming from 2 gold medals. I'm coming from 9 world records in both the 2 and 4-man events. I'm coming from 10 years of intense competition with the best athletes in the world. And Sanka just replies with, that's a hell of a place to be coming from.
Yep.
I really enjoy that character.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's a lot of heart to this movie, as there should be, right? For this style of movie, there should be a lot of heart. There should be a lot of emotion, and you combine it with the fact that you have John Candy in a, like we talked about, non-comedic role. Really adds something to that. And it gives him a chance to start flexing some of the more serious side of him, which again, it's a shame we never really got to see that fully fleshed out.
One of the parts that my kids thought was kind of funny was when he's saying the prayer, "Our Father who art in Calgary, bobsled be thy name. Thy kingdom come, gold medals won on earth as it is in turn 7, with liberty and justice for Jamaica." All right. We got anything else before we jump into 3 questions?
Oh, and just looking at that quote thing of it, just finishing that quote that me and Jeff were talking about. Yeah, at the end, when he says that line, he says, about if you're not enough without one, you'll never be enough with one. And he says, hey, coach, how will I know if I am enough? And he says, when you cross that finish line tomorrow, you'll know. And to me, it's like they picked up the thing, even though they didn't get the medal. It still rings true that you know that you're enough because you picked up that bobsled and you finished across the finish line.
You finished the race. It didn't matter where you placed. It didn't matter medal or not. You're
enough because of the way they approached even just like what happened in the race. Like it just all.
Yeah, they respected themselves enough to follow through.
Right.
Yeah. Yep. Versus just quitting and pouting and complaining or whining, which is a lot. You got up and you didn't finish. You didn't finish in the place you wanted, but you finished. Right. And it's kind of that's sort of what John Candy's statement there is sort of saying is that. So it makes sense. Yeah.
All right. It is time for 3 questions.
He asks each traveler 5 questions. 3 questions. 3 questions.
It's impossible to answer.
Impossible because you don't know the answer.
Nobody could answer that question.
I want to ask you a bunch of questions. I want to have them answered immediately.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
So half the family at dinner quoted that whole thing tonight because I was asking some of the 3 questions for a couple of our recordings to the family just to see what their responses would be. And one of the questions from our recording of The Firm was, what island would you like to vacation on? And my lovely teenage son, his response was, America, because it's an island floating on water. And I was like, no, it's not. There's like crust and mantle and core and other things under it, and he's like, no, but it doesn't have like water under it or something, and simultaneously, Nora and I started saying, what you've just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I've ever heard. So we have fun.
Oh,
all
boy,
right,
get that boy in summer school.
Yeah, good God.
Yeah. All right. Question eins: which is better, the Summer or Winter Olympics?
Summer for me.
One summer, okay.
I'm going to say based on events, I would go summer as well. Although I don't watch the Summer Olympics as much because it's summer and you're outside more, and I think it's less captivating audience wise. I think I tend to watch the winter more, but I would agree that if you go by events, summer's better. If you go by what do I actually end up watching more, winter.
Why do you say that summer events are better than winter events? Is it just because that's more the events that you are interested in?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I go back and forth. I like both summer and winter. I think that because they allow professional athletes to compete, summer I like watching the USA basketball. Winter I like watching USA hockey. I think though winter probably edges out summer a little bit for me. And I just keep thinking of different events. Like
I know.
They both have a lot of fun, really interesting, fun, entertaining events and I say that very nonchalantly as a guy that would never be able to compete in a single one of them. But
to me, and I don't know if that's I don't think that's exactly what you're saying, but for me, I feel like I find myself drawn to the Winter Olympics more, even though I like more of the events in the summer. And again, I think it's because of the seasonal part of it. Like in the winter, we're inside, it's cold. What are you going to do outside? Where do you have to go? So I think you're more looking for entertainment at home. And I think I tend to watch more of the Winter Olympics, where during the summer, you're out, there's barbecues, vacations, whatever, you're doing stuff, you're more busy. You tend to not see as much, at least I don't see as much coverage of the summer. I'll catch the highlights, but I don't really watch live events or whatever as much as I do when it's the winter.
You know what? I'm more of a ceremony guy. I enjoy the opening ceremony.
The ceremony's good, yeah.
Like that's really where I'm gonna make sure I sit down and watch. And then if I can catch events, great. I'm not opposed to it. But I really dig opening ceremony. Who's going to be the final torchbearer? You know, the year that they had Muhammad Ali be the final torchbearer, the year that they had Mike Ruzioni and all of the Team America be the final torchbearers. Just the opening ceremonies when at the London Games, I thought was fantastic. Yeah. I really dig the opening ceremonies of any of the Olympic Games. And then if I can catch events, great. But yeah.
Well, I've kind of been going back and forth on this, and I'm going to respond to this by saying, John rejected your question. I'm rejecting my own question because I've tried to narrow down would I prefer summer or would I prefer winter, and I don't think I can. I really enjoy the swimming events in the summertime. I enjoy the diving stuff. I enjoy the gymnastics events, all the different track and field stuff. Enjoy all those events, but then I also love the ice skating, the ski jump, the half pipe stuff. There's so much about the Winter Olympics too.
All the random stuff that you find yourself watching too. Like you'll be watching a more major event, like this is, and then also it's like, and now we're going to cut to the curling.
Yes, curling.
And then you find yourself watching curling. You're like, I still don't get how this game works, but I'm enjoying this.
Right.
Or I there was one that all of a sudden it just cut to fencing, and I watched fencing for an hour.
Right.
Like, I don't know why I'm watching this, but it's fantastic. So being able to introduce so many of these sports to people that normally wouldn't get an opportunity to get the limelight, I think is part of that appeal too. You know, at least in my neck of the woods, you don't often see people cross country skiing and then shooting at things.
Right.
And if you do, something wrong.
And if I did, it'd be time to move.
Yes. All right. Along similar lines, did everybody answer that one? I just want to make sure. Bo, you said yours, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Questions, Vi. Favorite Olympic memory?
Oh, so many.
Yeah.
I guess I'll pick my first one was Carrie Strug.
Yeah. I was going to say, that's what popped in my mind too.
That was also mine.
I remember I couldn't sleep that night, so I was up late watching and watched when it happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was nuts, man.
I mean, that was I put that up there with the Michael Jordan flu game of games that I remember watching and thinking, good Lord, how are these people doing this? All right, Dennis, you've seen a few more Olympics than the rest of us have. What was it like when they were still wearing togas?
So again, it's like one of those, how do you narrow it down to one? But I've got to say my probably all time has to be the 1980 Olympic hockey game. Jim Craig is the goalie, the flag wrapped around, because I actually saw that live. I mean, not at the place, but like on TV when they played it. It was like we didn't know who won, we didn't know anything yet, and we saw that game. We were watching it, and it was just it was an amazing moment because they were such underdogs and just the character the character of the guys, like you just mentioned. I can never say his name, Azzaroni. But then Jim Craig, the look with his dad, and he had that flag draped around. It was just such an iconic and just such a teared up sort of, oh my God moment that I was lucky enough to see it live when it happened, not, 10 years later, 5 years later. So I got to put that as my all time favorite. But then you could throw in, your Carrie Strug. I'm trying to think. Then there's the Mary Lou Retton. There's a boxing one that I always remember, and it's, if you look up this fight, it's Todd Foster versus Injil Kim or something like that. It was where it was a whole big. It was a weird fight. This guy's face is bloody, and he ends up coming back and just stops the other guy. It's just an amazing. When you watch that match and the call by, I think it's Pacheco, Dr. Ferdy Pacheco. It's just a great. I remember watching it with my brothers, and we were like, "Oh my God, Todd Foster!" It was a great boxing memory too for the Olympics. But I got to go. 1980 would be the tops one because that is the most, for me, the most memorable.
Yeah, I mean, if you're someone that saw that happen, I don't know how you
top it with anything. All the other ones are great, but that I have to go. That's got to be my. If I am forced to give you one answer, it has to be that.
Well, and I remember too watching all of the in '92 the Dream Team.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was because those were my three favorite players anyway: Jordan, Johnson, and Bird. And I just remember loving each and every one of those games. All right, and question number 3. Question dry. Can you ice skate or ski?
No.
No desire.
My response is also no, because I enjoy my ankles where they are. Thank you very much. I roller skated once when I think maybe I was in like 4th or 5th grade. I roller skated once. It did not go well, and I don't think I've ever gotten on any kind of skate ever again since then.
Katie's family skis. They like to ski a lot, and she's talked about having, when our boys are old enough, signing them up for ski school, and I'm not okay with that yet.
Yeah.
I had a student a number of years back, and he had gone on a skiing trip and came back in a wheelchair with metal rods sticking out of his leg, holding all of his bones in place.
Oh, yeah.
And
sounds great.
I was like, yep, nope, never skiing. My bones are going to stay on the inside. Thank you very much.
I skated when I was younger, went to roller rinks, all that stuff before. Skiing, no, not really. I feel like I've wanted to, but I just feel like it's one of those, I think if I would have been injury free up until a certain point, once you get the injuries, you're like, you know what? That's just begging for some more right there on that one. Not worth it for me to try it. But I feel like the long legs are just going to go in different directions. And something's going to snap off. And I'd have to ski uphill to go grab my leg.
You're kind of accident prone anyway, so
that'd make for a good movie.
Ice skating I've done when we used to do the roller rink stuff over at the Rinkside for our 8th grade trip.
Oh yeah.
So I would get on the ice then, and I could skate good. I just couldn't stop well.
Stopping is an important component, I've been told.
I could never figure out.
And when I say stop well, I could stop, but I would stop into a wall, or I would stop by having a fall. I can never do the smooth, how people just kind of pull up and stop. That just didn't happen.
That was like me when I was trying to learn how to ride my bike as a kid. The only way I couldn't figure out the brakes. I had the bike where you have the backwards pedaling for the brakes, and for some reason I couldn't figure it out. So I just decided, well, I'll just end my ride in the garage, and I just crashed into whatever boxes we had in the garage. And
you crash into the thing that looks the softest usually, but you pick the garage. Huh?
Yeah.
Usually it'll be a grass patch somewhere where you're like, I'm just gonna spill out on the grass here and see what happens.
Well, when the thing that's the softest is riding the bike, then what do you do?
Right.
I could never figure out ice skating. I tried.
Yeah.
I couldn't make it.
It's hard on the ankles, I think.
Because I would go roller skating all the time as a kid. I grew up down the street from a roller rink. It was a big thing to do when I was a kid. So I had no problem roller skating, but ice skating, I could never quite figure out how to get the balance just right. Maybe I just psyched myself out too much, but I don't know. Yeah. But I have no desire to learn how to do it now because I too am accident prone and just don't need that.
You went kind of skating down that driveway that one time. Remember with that? Wasn't it?
Yeah. Smashed my head open and broke my wrist.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Jeez. Do you ever have any do you feel like you've recovered 100% from that, or do you feel like you still have issues?
Well, mental issues or
no, mental obviously, because I think that falls in, or it's you get that nervousness, but physically anything, or are you pretty?
Oh yeah, good? No, I'll my wrist will have moments, especially when after playing with my kids. I'll have moments where you'll see me at work sometimes, and I'll be back to wearing my brace for a week or two, just because it's just gets sore.
Up. Yeah.
And we have one of my wife's uncles is a retired doctor. And he's like, you're going to feel that the rest of your life. He's like, that's not going away. And you're most likely going to have arthritis in that wrist now too. So that's something you have to look forward to.
Oh, joy.
Great.
You said
thanks, Doc.
You hit your head too, correct on that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And do you have any lingering anything from that, or no? Besides
the usual.
Besides giving 4 answers to every question when it requires only one. We call it the bazooka response, where it's like, name one this, name one that. It's like, oh, I'm going to give 3.
let me give you my first 3 responses to that comment.
It was my understanding that there would be no math.
Nothing lingering from that, but it's more the broken wrist that's just always going to be sore every now and again.
Yeah, that's a hard thing, man. When you slip, it does get in the back of your head. I will tell you that. It's like a mental thing too, because it's like, geez, it just happened that quickly, like bam.
And it's
a helpless feeling.
The hard part for me is I have to forgive myself for it because I did it to myself.
Because you were kind of like doing something funny, weren't you out there?
Yeah, because the whole family we were home. We all had COVID.
Yeah,
so we were all home, and my driveway's on a little bit of an angle, and it was January, so nice sheet of ice. So I went out there at one point to, I think, collect the trash cans and realized the driveway was slippery. So I thought it'd be funny, bring the boys to the front window and watch Dad surf down the driveway on his feet. And I did it a couple of times, no problem. And I looked up and I saw that Katie had her phone up, taking a video. So I'm like, I'll do it one more time.
Do one more for the camera. Yeah.
One more for the camera. And
damn.
That was it.
Yeah.
That was it. And she went back, she watched the video once and then permanently deleted it.
Yeah.
So I never saw the video, and I really have no interest. I
was going to say, it's probably best that you haven't seen that video.
I wouldn't want to see it if I could. She said the way that my head bounced off of the driveway was just, I've never seen anything like that.
I could see the ice skating. No desire to ice skate or anything like that.
Yeah, now I'm just
it's like, why would you? I get that. Like it's not worth it to me to do. There's other things I'll take risks on that I go, you know what? If something happens, I'm okay with that risk, and if something bad happens, I'm okay with that. That's skiing and ice skating aren't one of them for me right now.
On the one ski trip that I went on with Katie and her family, I went tubing.
Oh, there you go.
I went tubing and we did snowshoeing. That was great.
There you go.
That was very enjoyable.
I think that'd be about my speed too.
Snowshoeing and hiking with snowshoes would be good. The skiing stuff part, yeah, no. Even my daughter was out doing Yellowstone. She learned how, and then at the end, she kind of screwed something up with her knee. It was like one of the last things she did. She went into the softer part in the snow. They got so much snow. She didn't realize there was a tree under the snow and banged her knee against it. And has been dealing with that for the last few months or whatever too. So it's like, that was my big worry. You go to a ski place, I'm like, I ain't visiting you there because I got nothing to do there.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for this one. For the rest of our month of July, our fun and games month, we've got The Sandlot is coming up next week.
Excellent.
Love that movie.
Never seen it.
Never seen it?
Really?
Really?
He is so full of right now.
Oh, come on.
Good. Honestly.
Uh-huh.
I lived it, Dottie.
There you go. A lot of my friends have big butts. What's your big butt?
What's your big butt, Dottie?
So we got The Sandlot coming next week, then Rookie of the Year, then Rudy. Our Patreons, if you're joining us over there, our bonus episodes are From Here to Eternity from 1953 is the Patreon episode for the month of July. Patreon shorts are going to be War Games and Westworld.
I just rewatched War Games.
Did you?
I enjoy that movie.
Yeah. And then August, so if you're going to plan ahead for August, that is our Family and Relationships month. The movies we've got coming up for that one are My Life, Into the West, The Good Son, Indian Summer, and Addams Family Values. And then our Patreons are Krull from 1983 and a Patreon short, Super Mario Brothers. And then we've got another Patreon short. Haven't figured out what that one's going to be yet. So we'll add that
Cloak and Dagger. Cloak and Dagger.
Cloak and Dagger. So you do Cloak and Dagger?
Which I realize pairs very nicely with War Games.
Okay. All right. Well, maybe I'll do Cloak and Dagger for... That was the one I tweeted back at you and said, yes, it's my favorite Fight Club prequel.
Mm-hmm.
Someone else mentioned that to me, too.
Yeah.
I never thought of it that way.
Yeah. There's a whole essay that somebody wrote on how that's the perfect prequel to Fight Club.
I mean...
I'll find it and I'll send it to you.
It's not entirely wrong.
Mm-hmm. I am Jack's complete lack of surprise.
Indian Summers are really good, too. I can't wait to talk about that. Hopefully I can join you guys for that one. I really like that movie.
That one was not originally on the list. That was Patreon patron Jason Colvin's request.
Oh, nice. Right on, Jason. Right on, man.
So Jason threw that one in there for us.
Have you guys seen that?
I have not. No.
Dennis, have you seen Indian Summer?
Who's in that?
Oh God, a whole slew of people.
Indian, it sounds familiar. Like I've seen. I was gonna try and look that one up. Yeah.
It's Alan Arkin, Diane Lane, Bill Paxton, Sam Raimi.
What's that one about? I feel like I've seen it.
Yeah, this group of adults goes back to a summer camp.
Okay.
That they were all attendees of when they were kids, and kind of reliving the past and dealing with with past issues and current problems in their lives, and kind of,
I want to say I've seen it, but I don't remember it, so that'll be some.
I feel like you would remember it if you'd seen it. So hopefully I can.
Well, and I got to think, if I would have seen it, I would have seen it back. Like, when did you see that movie?
I don't remember when I saw it.
Recent? 5-10 years?
When did I first see it or last see it?
Yeah, when did you last see it? When did you first see it, I guess? I don't know.
Probably.
Think back then?
Probably college. I wouldn't have seen it in the theater. Right. It wouldn't have appealed to me then. But I was gonna say
at that point, probably that's not a movie I'm going to see at 1993.
But
I may have caught part of it or seen something, because I seem to know some of those characters, man. I don't know. Elizabeth Perkins, Kevin Pollak. Or maybe I saw clips of it, or I saw something about it, but it sounds vaguely familiar. But I do not remember it. And if you're telling me I would remember it if I saw it,
I think you would definitely remember it if you saw it.
Okay.
Well, hopefully I can join you guys for that one.
Well, My Life, I'm glad My Life is on there. That's the one with Michael Keaton, correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anybody seen that one before, or not seen it before? I mean,
I have, but it's been a long time.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I think it'd be interesting, especially with everybody being older and relationships and families and in-laws. I mean, I think I love that film. I actually showed that in class.
Oh, did you?
It's a good one. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, gents, for being here. Always enjoy talking movies with you.
Thank you, John. Looking forward to hopefully catching you guys next week for the Sandlot.
Absolutely.
And definitely. And people, look up Todd Foster on there. That's a great boxing match for the Olympics. Look up Mary Lou Retton if you haven't seen that. Carrie Shrug they mentioned. Look up them. I'm sure you can find it all on YouTube, but definitely look up those highlights there. The Todd Foster one, I totally remember now. It was when it was in Korea, I think.
Seoul,
Korea, and they had the rings so close to each other, and the bell sounded the same.
No.
And Todd Foster was winning the fight, and what happened was the bell went off and the other ring right next to it, and the other fighter thought that was his bell, the Korean fighter. He stopped fighting, and Todd Foster was just in the middle of throwing a punch. So he threw a punch, and then that guy pretended to be like he pretended to be hurt more than he was, because it was kind of like he kind of half pulled the punch when he saw the guy. So anyway, there's a whole big thing where they're going to disqualify Todd Foster. There was a big drama about it. Whole big thing, and they had to come back later during like prime time and fight each other for the champion. So they decided that they were going to go ahead and have them refight, that they would just call it like a whatever, not a no contest. So Todd Foster kind of get gypped out of the win right there anyway. It was the other guy's fault, but then and the other guy was trying to milk it anyway. And then the fight is just a phenomenal fight where he looks like Todd Foster's going to lose. He's all bloodied. He gets his nose bloodied, and he comes back and he ends up stopping the other. It's just it was great drama, especially with the controversy. So check that out online, people. That's a good one. Todd Foster, and then definitely Mary Lou Retton coming back and getting 2 10s to win. She was behind a Russian girl, and she ended up having to get 2 perfect 10s, and the last one was the vault. And I remember she being on the Wheaties box, and I think Athlete of the Year. So good highlights to look up for Olympics, people.
And she's my favorite Tiny Tim.
There you go.
All right, everybody. Be excellent to each other. Go watch some good movies, and we'll see you back here next time.